My favorite time of the week, NBA fantasy chat, man. I think this is the great part about fantasy, man, where you can get online and chat with each other. And when we chat with each other, I go, "Howdy, Nick. Welcome." And you say, "What do you say?"
How you doing, Fowles? It's good to see you. We're talking about some fantasy. Even though the season hasn't started, we've finished the preseason. We've got all the stats. We have all of the unrealistic expectations out of people, and now we're here to tell you what you should do. And if it doesn't work, it wasn't our fault. But if it
Disclaimer.
works,
We need a
we
disclaimer
totally,
somewhere,
totally
somewhere,
helped you
somewhere
out here.
there. Yeah.
Um, for those that maybe don't watch a lot of NBA basketball or only react to headlines, I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler here. During the preseason, you see some weird stat lines from players that you've never heard of and you won't hear of for the rest of the season. So I'm going to lead us into some players that you should drop if you've picked them
Drop.
up or accidentally picked them up.
Wait, we starting with watch?
No, I'm going to start with drop
Okay.
because I'm going to have you go into your list and get rid of this player now.
Fine. Okay.
Then I'm going to tell you who you should keep on your list, and then I'm going to tell you who to maybe pick up now or even
Fine. I
watch.
got
That's how I'm
you.
going to go for it.
Fine. Got you.
Sorry to, yeah, I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
ruined the whole
Yeah.
title of the
Throw
video.
throw
Okay,
a
cool.
curveball there,
So
but sure. Give me a name.
Bronny James. Bronny
Bronny
James. I've
James.
snuck him into another
My
video.
God.
I know that he had
Oh my
a
God.
respectable outing to
Oh.
finish his preseason, and you
Yes.
might get lulled into thinking,
Mm.
oh, I reckon here he goes. He's figured it out. He just had a bit of rust. LeBron's going to make sure he plays. The gimmick will be he'll play for maybe 10 games, 5 games. I don't know what it'll be. And he's going to be off to the G
Drop
League because the
Bronny
G League
James.
actually doesn't begin. So if you've picked him up by accident, gag, see what you can do, get rid of him. No
Drop.
good.
Drop.
My next one is Alex Sarr from the Washington Wizards.
Drop.
Okay. Rookies, we always get a little bit hesitant about. The reason why I'm saying drop him, yes, he's a high projected pick. Yes, he has double double potential with some threes, but he's about to play for a really bad team.
Mm.
And he also is probably going to have bad stats. Think Jalen Green on the Houston Rockets a couple of years ago. He might give you 15 points, but he's probably going to shoot
But
40%
but
from the
that but
field.
that rookie in Atlanta's gonna have good stats,
The rookie in Atlanta is going to be
right?
mint. Okay. Um, and I'm going to slide in one more here. This one is a really surprising one, but I do not think at this stage of the season, Mikal Bridges is worth a roster slot for you. So,
Drop.
Mikal
Drop.
Bridges,
Trade.
okay,
Surely trade. Try and trade him. Is that what you're trying to say?
sure, sure. Try to trade, if not drop. He is going to hemorrhage. He's done something to his jump shot. He's tried to fix the speed of his release. So he was a mid catch of the chest and he was a slow release player, but he used to shoot about 40%. Now it's just the preseason, but he's changed his shot. And when players change their shot from a shot that was already pretty good, this isn't this doesn't bode well. I would get off this bandwagon now. There's going to be some real teething that happens here offensively. That's my suggestion to you. It's your life, man.
Trade,
If you
trade,
do it, you
trade
do it.
Mikal Bridges, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
look, I guess, hey, look, you get the right price, man. You trade any player. That's my logic, right? That's the guy from traded Luka Doncic, right? So, I'm gonna go with his teammate, Precious Achua. Is that how you even say his name? I don't even know. I feel like I need, when you
Yep.
Google, you click
You
on
didn't
the
like
the
that
speaker and
20 and
and
16
yeah,
game.
yeah. And what did you also see? He's injured. Yeah, he's now injured too. Yeah, so I think he's out
Oh,
for
that's good.
2 to 4
That's a good
weeks.
call.
I think Precious is a player that you don't need to hold because he's injured. Yeah, there's other
Yeah.
production options out there that are probably similar. He was slated to probably get a few more minutes because Mitchell Robinson was out and playing behind Cat, but now he's injured for at least a month, I would imagine. I think he's a player that you definitely drop. Yeah, that is my feedback, my thought there. Second player here is actually you were talking about, you're all high about him, is the backup center now in OKC, Isaiah Hartenstein. Yeah,
You're dropping him.
I think you drop him. Or,
Okay.
look, hey, guess what? Everyone should have an injury roster spot. If you haven't used it, stash him there. Yeah, I'll give you
Yeah.
that. Yeah, stash him there. But if you already stashed a greater, more prominent player there, I think Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be that player that everyone goes, oh, look, he's on the floor, he plays minutes, he's on a winning team, let's grab him. And then you ride him for 1 week, 2 weeks, and you go, oh, but he gives you Draymond Green production. Yeah, like, is up, down, depending on minutes and situations and how Chet is playing and depending the situation on the scoreboard, whether it's a close game or a blowout or whatnot. And then, best case scenario, he goes out there and gives you 10 and 10 with a few rebounds and assists and steals. Worst case scenario, he goes out there and gives you like 5 and 5 with a couple peripheral stats, and then you go, is this worth even a 13th roster spot? And the fact now that he's injured, I think he's out for maybe a few weeks too as well. I'm saying you drop him. And the third name I have on my list here is, man, I've seen people pick this guy up. He's not even on my thing. he's he's not even on my. I'm trying to search up the players right now. I know you can't see my screen, man, but it's the kid at the Grizzlies, man, Yuki
Ah,
Karamura,
yes,
some
yes.
guy. Like, I
The
love his
Memphis backup point
story,
guard.
man. I love his story. He's
Yeah.
5'6". He's just got his 2-day contract, and every Asian fantasy owner has gone jumped on board him because we all want him to be the next Jeremy Lin, okay? But he's not going to be. I'm so sorry to break this to you guys here. You know, if you went and grabbed him, you can go, I had this kid on my roster and feel good about it for about 4 minutes. Drop the guy. Okay? He is not going to give you any fantasy production. As much as we'd all love to see him succeed here, I'm so sorry. He's 5'8". He's the third option coming off the bench here at the Grizzlies here. You're hoping that Ja Morant pulls out his gun and just, I don't know, maybe puts a full bullets into the locker room too, and then now he'll get some minutes. But no,
Well, so
it's not,
that's
you know.
that's actually where I'm going to slide right in here. I have been quite vocal about Ja Morant's play style is very reckless, very dangerous, and very reminiscent. I can see him having a stretch at some point. Maybe not worth holding on to right now,
Drop.
but he is a drop certainly, but he's also a watch if Ja Morant gets injured. The
Watch is a
second Ja Morant
watch is a
gets injured,
stretch.
then he goes straight into it. No, I'd be I'm
I'll tell you why. But anyway, let's go to
yeah.
we're going to hold list. Yeah, you got this player.
Let's hold
You
on to
should
these
stick on to them. You
players.
should stick to them for a little bit longer. Yeah, who you got in your names,
Definitely.
man?
So I guess to clarify this section as well, these are hold players, not because you would drop them. These are hold players as in don't get lulled into a trade here because the value could continue to go up or you might be able to get a better haul than you realize. First one is Dante DiVincenzo.
Mm,
Clearly,
mm.
sometimes players get traded
Who's concerned about
and
him? I ain't.
no, I'm not. What I'm saying is you hold on to him because I actually think his value is going to go up even further. That
Yeah.
preseason shooting that he had was really good, but I actually can see him slotting into the number two role next to Anthony Edwards because Minnesota doesn't have a clear number two. Julius Randle comes to mind, but I don't know how they're going to integrate him into the offense. But I can see Dante DiVincenzo actually sliding in to be a 20-point scorer because the attention's going to be on Ant, the attention's going to be on Julius Randle, and I can see him almost doing what Klay Thompson, Brad Beal, that kind of third role shooter. And I can see his stats being even higher than they were last season. That's why I'm saying hold him because I reckon his value could go up a little bit further
Hold
and
him
then you
till you
could
put
really
some
evaluate.
points on the board. Gotcha.
Got it. Bobby Portis is the next player here. I don't know if you've seen the crazy stat line. He's clearly a backup big for you, but he's actually shooting 80% from three-point land right now. That is not sustainable. That's not
From
sustainable
3-point
whatsoever.
land.
But um, you don't get stretch bigs who can give you some blocks very often, and if he can somehow maintain that, very interesting. And you do have to think if Damian Lillard starts to figure it out a little bit, that spaces the floor amazingly for any of the role players in Milwaukee. That was the biggest issue for Milwaukee, I think, last season because Dame struggled so much. Other players didn't really get going. And you'd look in the box score and you'd see Giannis had 35 and Dame had 30, and that was about it. If Dame can become a little bit more efficient, that unlocks Bobby Portis. That's why I'd say hold there. And then my last one, this is a rookie, but Donovan Clingan for Portland Trailblazers,
Hold him. Hold
he
him.
has
Ooh.
he has so everyone's like you're very apprehensive towards rookie. I think that's what motivated me to say hold on to him. He has he's a sleeper potential. And I don't know if you saw that preseason stat line where it was like 20, 16, and four blocks and a three steals or something. He has crazy potential to fill the stat line. He also could be very similar to that Alex Sarr that I referenced before, where good stats, bad team, but inefficiency. So it's just a hold because I like what he does more than I like what Alex Sarr did.
Look, I don't. Like I say, we don't want to go and criticize each other too much on this one here. Clingan is a real interesting case, man. I personally think you would drop him at this point. I don't think you should have him on your roster. Yeah,
Whoa.
unless you're in a 14-man league, okay? And I am in a 40-man league, and that's been a new experience. I've never played 40-man leagues before, so you have to go deeper, yeah, much deeper into your player pool. I think Clingan is a drop right now. You were talking about some players like Yuki as a watch. I think Clingan is more of a watch. But anyway, hey, look, let me jump across to my hold list, man. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of names here, and you tell me what you think, man. The first name I'm going to say here is that if you picked up this player already, hold him and see what he does. Yeah, see what he does. And his name is Lonzo Ball. Yeah. Man, if you already spent, let's say, a 13th, 12th, 13th round pick on Lonzo Ball, for the sake of just, you know, give the kid some love, man. He's come back, finally got on the court. Man, how many days has it been since he's been rehabbing his knee? 3 surgeries later, and you're like, this kid should, by all scientific purposes, not be able to walk anymore, let alone jump in the NBA and be on the floor. But I think let's see what he can do because he was talented. He was talented, and I say was, yeah,
Yeah.
because we haven't seen him on the floor a long time, okay? And I just don't want to discredit that talent goes away, and he's only 27. Okay, and maybe that's his saving grace. Yeah, he had this injury in his early 20s, yeah, and he's had the time off here. Could he? I'm not saying he's going to jump into the top 50 or anything like that, but could he be a productive option as your 13th pick on your team? I think you hold him for now. Okay. Number two is I have this guy here, which is Karis LeVert. And in part, I'm saying you should hold him because again, he's a player that's been sitting on the fringe on many sort of I think sort of fantasy leagues because he's a hard one to evaluate. But guess what? Max Strus is out. Yeah, this is
Mm.
probably a part where when you hold or watch players or you pick them up ultimately make that decision, you got to factor in their situation, just like you talked about Bobby Portis. And obviously when Giannis goes out, Portis gets minutes. Yeah, let's say Ja Morant gets injured, then maybe Yuki now suddenly gets 4 minutes a game versus zero. Okay, but the point here is that Karis LeVert will benefit from the fact that Max Strus is out from a
Yep.
production perspective. And I think right now, if he's still out there, he's probably a name that's really worth grabbing. And then the last one here, you know what? I'm going to go do a full 180 right now. I'm saying we should hold Josh Hart. Thank God they didn't accept that trade that I offered Josh Hart. Actually, I offered about 6 trades for Josh Hart in the last 7 days, man. And no one took him along with all the other players I tried to pair him with. But guess what? Now with Precious Achiuwa out, okay, Josh Hart and along with the other players that can play in the front court there and slide over to fill some minutes, I think they're going to get a few more minutes in that sort of situation. Hey man, I guess right now 2 days away from the season starting. Josh Hart's on my roster. I think maybe this is a choice best no move, right? The best non
Yeah.
move
No,
that I
I
make
think.
all season long when he then goes out there and gives me I don't know 14, 7 and 7. I'll take that.
Yeah, look, I really like your point. Sometimes the decisions we make have to be influenced by other factors too. So the Karis LeVert point's huge because Max Strus isn't a big name player, but he does have big minutes really for the Cavs. And the fact that he's now gone, Karis LeVert slides in there quite easily, and that's sometimes what you need to pay attention to. It's not what the box score says; it's what the context of the team is about to dictate for them. So Josh Hart, you're totally right. I actually think the Knicks will be figuring some things out in terms of lineups over the first 10, 20 games. And I personally think that a small ball lineup is to their benefit. They can easily play a 5 out with crashing the boards, and that would be a style that works. And Josh Hart slots in perfectly for that. We're going to watch some players now. And
Keep an eye on these kids, man. I think they could be trending upwards.
these are some people. So the first one that's popped up on my list is Jaden Ivey.
Ooh,
He plays in Detroit, for those that are unaware, because most people who play in Detroit outside of Cade Cunningham don't get much
he's
airtime.
still a free agent in our league too.
He is still a free agent in our league. So Jaden Ivey is being a little bit more efficient. So his percentages are going up a little bit, and he kind of has that 16 and 7 potential with those extra stats and stocks. Um, the reason why I'm saying keep an eye out, I believe this is his third season, and sometimes players take a leap, right? Laurie Markkinen is probably the most recent example of this now. You can have a player who has a really ugly career stat on the basketball reference page, and then they have this weird 20 and 5 season or 20 and 7 season. And Detroit is in such a mess that they need to figure something out. And Jaden Ivey was also buried on the bench under Monty Williams last season, and there was
Mm.
legitimate front office turmoil because they were like, "Can you please play our young player?
Mm.
I don't know what your problem is." So keep an eye on him. Next young player, and I feel like this is probably the theme here, but Moses Moody for the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are going to be interesting because people don't know if they will be good or not. They have Steph Curry in their team, therefore we assume they have the potential to be good. He has that LeBron air, right? Where you look at a team with Steph Curry and you say, well, surely they're trying to make the playoffs, right? And they've got to figure out their lineup. Moses Moody has been stashed for a couple of years now, part of that whole youth movement that hasn't taken off. Jonathan Kuminga is clearly the name that took off last season. Is it Moses Moody's turn this season? Who knows? And then the last one, I don't know how to feel about it, but I'm putting it out there. I feel like Dalton Knecht from the Los Angeles Lakers, that 35-point game in the preseason, in what was a competitive game against Phoenix that went to overtime, and the Stars did play at some point. The fact that he scored 20 straight points, that is not a common thing that rookies do. And he was drafted as the higher rookie. I know Bronny James is getting all the attention, but he's the higher drafted rookie. And for the Lakers to do something, because they brought back the same lineup, they need him or Bronny James to be really, really good for them to have an alteration to their roster. He looks like he might have that potential because he can shoot, he can create off the dribble, and when he gets to go in a lineup alongside Anthony Davis and LeBron James, if he can play his role and play it well, he might slide into that Austin Reeves role, because Austin Reeves is another player who came out of nowhere and is probably a beneficiary of playing with great players. It's not far-fetched to say Dalton Necht could be the next Los Angeles hidden gem like Alex Caruso was, and Kyle
Mm,
Kuzma was,
mm.
and Austin Reeves was.
I like your observation. I actually like the Dolphin Connect kid pretty much that I actually made a short video on him on my one
Hey,
guy with spare time channel. So,
what?
not every player gets a video made from about them from me. All right, let's be honest. Yeah, 400 guys out there, 448 of them are still waiting for their video probably. I think the Bronny and LeBron get a bunch of those videos, and CP3 got one as well. So there you go. All right, but if I see something that I like what you're doing on the floor, then I'll try and spend a few minutes, make you a clip there. How's that sound, man? This feels like an
Love
achievement.
it.
I should send them a certificate. Yeah, you've now got a video from one with spare time. But hey, here are some names that I got, man. That that I think you should definitely be watching here. I'm going to start with here, who is likely the backup point guard for the Memphis Grizzlies. His name is Scottie Pippen Jr. Yeah, we just
Yep.
talked about the fact that if Ja Morant has an injury through recklessness in many ways on or off the floor, okay, that Scottie Pippen Jr. is probably the next option that slides in. Yeah, Marcus Smart obviously could play the one, but he can play one or two in that sort of sense. And yeah, man, Scottie Pippen Jr. is a real young kid that he's I know he's bounced around a little bit, but I think he's finally sort of finding a home in Memphis. They've given him a couple of years now, I think, on the contract, and he also gives you steals, man. He goes bonkers on
Steals.
steals. Yeah, that's the thing. And,
That's
and I
what I
picked
wanted
him
to
up
add.
last season, yeah. And obviously,
Yep. And that helped.
yeah, and that was huge, yeah. So he'll do your standard stuff as a young fella. He'll have a little bit of inconsistency, but some days he'll go out there and just grab you 5 steals, and you go, man, that was worth it. That's like your Wemby's in
Yeah.
your steal category, yeah. So I think, Scottie Pippen Jr. Watch that kid, man. The other kid now I've got on my list here is look, I think he's a watch man. I wouldn't go grab him either right now. And here's a little disclaimer. Maybe I should have said this at the start, man. But I know we're competitors right now. Yeah, we're almost giving each other a little bit of advice, right? I don't know necessarily if I take your advice that I'll go grab Moses Moody. Okay, I wouldn't jump that far. Jaden Ivey is always an interesting prospect to look at, and obviously he's still on the free agency pile in our league. So hey, man, he comes out of the gates hot. I'm sure someone's going to try and snap him up straight away. Okay, and it's not shocking that he comes out and opens the season averaging 25 points a game in his first week or two, and then suddenly like grab that kid, grab that kid. But that's why he's on your watch list, no doubt. Okay, but my second name on my watch list here is that you should go grab this kid because I feel it's a bit of a stretch, but you like stretching out here. Yeah, you
Tell
got
me the
that.
name.
His name is a Big Dick, which is Grady Dick for
Oh,
the
Grady Dick.
Toronto Raptors. And
You really built
look,
that one up.
you know what? You know what? Go grab this dick, all right? Because he will definitely help your will help your fantasy roster. And look, no, look, let's scale it back a bit. Go watch this dick play a bit more, okay?
Yep.
Because he could definitely be a player that the Raptors are looking at as they're trying to figure out what's their next core that they continue to ride with to try to get back to that championship,
Yeah.
to get back to the finals again, which they got a taste of, as you
Do you
alluded to
want
about
to?
6 years ago.
Do you want to
Yeah,
just quickly? I'm just going to slide in as much short material as possible. We'll see how it goes. So you're telling me that I need to think long and hard about this one, that I need to
yes,
play around with it a little bit, that I don't want to make a quick decision because that would be a little bit embarrassing,
correct.
if I don't do the right thing by this dick. Is that what you're saying?
Please
That's
get all your dick puns in right now, because we may never talk
that's
about this dick again this
this
season. All right?
this this is a grady area, where we're playing around with this. So this is good. I like that. I don't. Do you need a third? I feel like that's
I
good.
have a
That's
third. I
that's
actually
good
have
to
a
hear.
third here. You're gonna like this one, man. You're gonna be like, "Wow, man, I should have picked this kid." Yeah, and there's a watch. Watch this kid.
Well, there's only so
If I
many people to pick,
if
isn't
I
there?
told you there's a player out there that only maybe 2 years ago was averaging 18, 5, and 5, and he's still sitting on a free agency pile right now. I believe he is. Yes, he is in our league. I know in the 14-man league he is not. Okay, I had a look because I would have grabbed him. His name is Kevin Porter Jr. and he is
Yeah.
now at the Clippers. And this
Yep.
guy
And the
was
Clippers are going to be bad.
balling out. This guy was balling out. He was a fairly high draft pick. He then, had his issues in Cleveland. He went to the Houston Rockets. He was balling out there and putting up stats on a pretty bad Rockets team. That's true. Young and bad. Then
Yep.
he had his issues there, and now he's with the Clippers. And guess what? The Clippers have got nobody besides James Harden. That's a pretty accurate summary, really. Let's be honest. Yeah, Kawhi's gonna sit and rest. PG's gone. Harden's gonna, go and try and, recapture his statistical days again. And every other spot on the roster is up for grabs for players that want to seize the moment. And this is a kid that can get buckets and can play. And I say you watch him, and if he's starting to get rotational minutes, yeah, go grab him. Go grab him. I'm gonna go grab him. Yeah, if you grab him before me, you owe me
No,
one,
I
man.
won't. No, I think. Look, I think the other preface that we'll put, sorry, the other condition we'll put at the end of this is do wait unless you see something ridiculous from a player, right, in the very first game. Because, James Harden, when he entered on the Rockets and he went off for 45 points, I think people kind of assumed, oh, I think Houston might have just won that trade after one game. And he maintained that effort. You need to see that on day one for you to make an impulsive decision where you change your lineup after day one. Otherwise, give it a week, let players settle into
Watch,
their stats.
watch.
That's why it's the watch section. In terms of the drop section, we're confident that you can drop those players now. We wouldn't have said that for no other reason, or trade, depending on how you feel. And when it comes to holding, really what you should do is hold on to everything. Have faith in yourself. Have self-confidence, belief. Don't listen to us
But
because
remember,
statistically, if you're here,
if you're
you're a true fan.
if you're paying attention though, the advice here is to watch the dick, but not hold the dick.